Hey, Vinyl Community, Jeff here, and I got out a little bit today and picked up some records. Look at that. Oh, can you tell what that is? Anyway, so yeah, I wanted to tell the story real briefly about our plans today and what I picked up at a local store. First off, there was last weekend we went to this local store. I don't know if you have them. They're in our area. They're like a chain store. I wasn't aware of them until just a couple years ago, but Second and Charles, they remind me of like a almost like a Barnes and Noble, or like because they have books and they have records and they have novelties and t-shirts and they have a little of everything, and they have used stuff and they have new stuff. So it's kind of a, you know, all kinds of media and toys, and it's like everything, kind of like an FYE too. Reminds me of an FYE, the way they used to be, with just little of everything. And they have a bunch of new records. Their prices are pretty much overpriced for most everything. Occasionally you run across something that's a good price. We were in there and I looked, this was last week, and as we left, my wife mentioned something. She says, oh, up in the front in the glass counter, she said they had a Judas Priest album, Nostradamus. And I'm like, really? She said, yeah, it was like $129. And I'm like, really? And then I looked it up real quick and I realized, oh yeah, that's right, that only came out as a box set. And I said, well, you know, $129 is not bad for the box set, because online they sell for $150, $250 and up. So I thought, let's go back and get it, because it's 3 albums and 2 CDs and a book and all this stuff. I said, that's probably worth the investment to have that album. So we went back this weekend. Now, I had mentioned it to Scott Waters during the week, and he told me about the problem they had, because back in 2008 when that came out, I wasn't aware of the manufacturing issue, where the apparently the sleeves, the paper sleeves that the albums came in, had some kind of chemical treatment to them and ruined the album. The albums were ruined. And he said, be careful, take a look at the albums. So I got there, and first off, I noticed my wife was kind of wrong. The price they have is $149. I'm like, that puts it a little out of my desire. But the second thing is, it says vinyl only. I'm like, so he doesn't, the book and all that's not in there, right? And she said, no, it's just the vinyl records. I said, okay. So the problem with this is that the albums, and I told him about the defect, and so then I pulled the albums out, and the albums were foggy. She said, yeah, they got a little fog on them. One of them was foggy. The other one had like, it looked like sticky stuff on it. It looked like the album had gotten wet, and it was like shiny and sticky. I'm like, yeah. I said, no, these albums are ruined. I said, the chemical reaction, if they were left in these sleeves, ruined the albums. And I looked at them and I said, these albums are ruined. So not only is it not worth $149 for the vinyl only, I said, you can buy the whole set online for that. I said, but these albums are ruined. As I'm leaving, I'm thinking I should have told him, because here's what I think happened. The guy who has them knows that they're ruined. He kept the book, kept the CDs, gave them the box set and the vinyl. They probably paid him high dollar for it. He probably gave him $100 for it. Probably ain't worth $20 for the box, and that's about it. So anyway, I passed that up, and that was going to be the big purchase for the day. I'd kind of squeezed some gig money out to think about doing that. So then I went over to the other store, because I had asked them to hold something for me. So I went over to pick that up, and I thought, well, you know, I had planned on using this money for this big purchase, the Priest thing. Didn't get it, so I went ahead and bought a few extra things locally. But the thing I went there for was they got a copy of the Trick or Treat. This is the Fastway soundtrack album that I've really been looking for years. It's just, you know, usually it's expensive and hard. This is the Real Garn Music Edition. Saw it online. I almost purchased it. Pricing, shipping, I just passed on it. But then they got one locally, and I'm like, hey, how much? And they told me the price. I'm like, well, that's even cheaper than what it is on Amazon right now. And I looked at other places, and it's cheaper than what it is on Discogs. And I thought, well, yeah, I'll buy it, and I'll support local business. So anyway, I said, hold it for me. He said we only had one. So I grabbed it and went down there and picked it up. And so, yeah, this is the Fastway soundtrack, 1980, what was it, 86, 87. They released this, and so this is the first reissue since back in the day, and it's on like a red and orangish looking, marble looking color there. So, yeah, Hellfire Vinyl Edition, limited to 2,000 copies. So, wanted to get this. It's one of the Fastway albums that I've been looking for a long time, and I was glad to get that. So then while I'm there, I'm looking through their used stuff, and I found a couple things. I thought, well, yeah, this will be good. Picked up Judas Priest Live. They had this. It was a good price. Double record set. I opened it up, took a look inside. I'm like, wow, these albums look unplayed. Great stuff. What was this? Live 1987. Great tour. Great. Just one of the greatest time frames, in my opinion, for Priest. is would have been around this time. So it's an excellent live album. I won't pull it. That's a gatefold, pretty pictures and everything. We'll go into that. This was exciting because I just mentioned this. Somebody showed it in one of their videos, and I thought, I really need to get one of their albums, or I want to get both of their albums. And then I got one. I found a copy of Girls Wasted Youth. If you're not familiar with Girl, they are the band that you can see on here. Where is he? Right here. Phil Collins started here before moving on to Def Leppard. The singer also went on to LA Guns, I believe. I think that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So anyway, this is like just a rock band from the 80s. When did this come out? 1981. And they have 2 albums. This is their second, and I'd like to pick up their first. Oh, and the thing about the store is if you buy something new, you get 25% off of something used. So I think that the Judas Priest was the most expensive of all of these records. So I got 25% off of that. So hey, save a few bucks. Pick that up. They had a great copy in great condition. I mean, the album just looks almost unplayed. $1 Billion Babies by Alice Cooper, and I have that in there backwards. I was putting all these together a few minutes ago. Now it has the cards, but it doesn't have the dollars. So maybe that's why it was a little cheaper. It's got the perforated cards, but it did not have the the big dollar bill there. But again, I'm in it for the record. When I saw the record for a lot of times you find this and the albums are kind of beat up because it's so old and it's such a great album, but it was in really great condition, and so I thought, yeah, let me grab that. Same thing here. I thought I had this, but I guess not. The House of Blue Light by Deep Purple. I'm just like, what? I thought I had this. I had to look at my list and think, okay, I never did pick this up. One of their solid albums after the return when they came back. Anyway, the album, I'm sure. And again, it was a good price. I thought I'm going to grab that. And then lo and behold, I picked up the Shades of Deep Purple. I thought, I don't have any of the early albums. and again, not only was it a decent price, the album itself is about what you would expect for an album from 1960 68 or so. It's not even that bad. It's not much ring wear and stuff. But then when I pulled the album out, you could tell they put it in a different sleeve. When I pulled the album out, it didn't look played. I no fingerprints, no dirt, nothing. I'm like, okay. Again, usually when you find older albums like this from the 60s, they tended to be a little more beat up. And this one was a great condition and a decent price, so I grabbed that. Now, my wife came in the store after I had all this picked up. She went back and started looking at books, which I know she's prone to buy books when we go there. So the chances are, if she bought a used book, no big deal. I already got something used. I'm going to get the discount off of that. So I thought, no big deal. If she buys something used, there's no additional discount. So I went ahead and checked out. Then she said, I'm going to buy this book. And I said, is it used or new? And she said, it's new. And I'm like, ugh. Because I could have given her one of these used records and had her check out separately and got a discount on the second one. So not wanting to let a good deal go by, I thought, well, there were plenty of albums I didn't pick up that I could pick up another one for 25% off. And so every one of those albums, before she got there, every one of those used albums, I'm picking them, I'm looking at them, all of them, examining the vinyl and everything. Now we're in kind of a rush to leave. She's got the book. I ran over to the thing and I said, here, grab this. Let me go ahead and get this Thin Lizzy album. Honestly, I have nothing by Thin Lizzy on vinyl, so I thought I'm going to grab this. I did not check the vinyl, and it's not horrible, but you can't see it. It's got marks and scuffs and lines and what looked like probably scratches. I put on the needle just before doing this video. I put on the needle on the first thing, and it's got the crackle and pop. Then you don't hear it in the music. It does look a little dirty. I'm thinking I give it a good scrubbing and it'll probably clean right up. But this was actually one of the more expensive used albums that I purchased. This was as expensive as the double album by Judas Priest. So while the discount brought it down to what I would consider regular price, I probably wouldn't have bought it in that condition. Just when I see scratches like that, I'm like, okay, if I see scratches and stuff like that, that's a $5 or $6 album. That's not something I'm going to pay in the teens for. But anyway, I got it. I'm going to clean it up, see if it works. That was it. Then I get home, and this is on my box on my front porch from the mailman. This was pre-ordered months ago, and this is the Bride Drop album. Now, I showed the CD of this. The CD came out a while back. I don't know if it was months. It probably wasn't a year ago, but it might have been last year, or it was just earlier this year. But anyway, the vinyl pre-order, finally came in, and it dropped, and it dropped. This is Bride's 1995 album, and the CD was a 25th anniversary edition. Wow, that would have made it 2020, I guess. And so then they finally decided to put it out on an album on vinyl format, and so yeah, it came in after a few months of waiting, and it's got your standard collage, picture arrangement, and lyrics, designed by Scott Waters, as mentioned before. This was around the time, the band had started changing their sound, and this was one of the first albums where they kind of went alternative. And back in the day, the custom labels, I remember back in the day, it kind of threw us for a loop, because they had been a little more metallic, prior to this. And they started moving away from that and going a little more on the alternative side. But over the years, I've grown to really just love this album. The one that came after this, even more kind of alt, not really grungy, but started feeling that way in '97. That album I liked it back in the day, but it took me a while to get used to that one. And so yeah, it's great to have this. Hopefully they'll continue. They've been reissuing some of the Bride stuff recently, so hopefully we'll continue to get more, because they've got quite a few in those years where albums weren't made available. So that's it for now, though. Thanks a lot for watching. I will be back. Rock on and rock hard.